I'm in a field.
June 11, 2005, a party ends. 22 days later, a body appears. The evidence doesn't match the timeline. This is the story of Todd Geib. In true mystery, there is a pattern, a logic, however broken, a sequence of events we can follow, even if it leads to a dark and terrible conclusion. But what happens when the sequence itself breaks? When the timeline refuses to make sense? When every piece of physical evidence seems to argue with the calendar? This is the unsettling core of the disappearance of Todd Geib, a 22-year-old who walked away from a summer bonfire in Casnovia Township, Michigan, and stepped into a rift between what we know and what seems possible. For 22 days, he was simply gone, and then he was found, in a place that had already been searched, in a condition that defied time, in a position that defied physics. This isn't just a story of a missing person. It's a story of a timeline that collapsed. The night of June 11th, 2005, was unremarkable in all the right ways. A warm, clear start to a Michigan summer. A bonfire party behind Apple Avenue, on family land. Attendance ebbed and flowed, perhaps 100 people throughout the evening. Todd Geib was there. By all accounts from friends and family, he was in good spirits. He was with his cousin in familiar territory. He was drinking, but not excessively. This was a social gathering, not a rager. Sometime around midnight, Todd decided to head back to his cousin's house. It was a walk he'd done before, a straight shot about a mile. He told a few people he was leaving, and then he stepped out of the firelight and into the darkness of Apple Avenue. The walk should have taken 20 minutes. It should have been simple, but in the space between should have been and what was, the timeline begins to tear. This is where we must move from recreation to reconstruction, using the only digital witness, Todd's cell phone. At 12:47 a.m., Todd makes his first known call to a friend. His statement is brief, odd, and has never been fully explained. "I'm in a field." What did he mean? Was he simply stating his location on the walk? Or was it a statement of confusion or distress? The call ends. What follows is a pattern of attempted aborted communication. Over the next 11 minutes, he makes several more calls. Most are missed. Those that connect are seconds long. It's the pattern of someone trying to reach someone, but unable to sustain a connection or a conversation. Crucially, his phone is still pinging off the tower that services the party area. He hasn't made significant progress toward his cousin's house. He is, as he said, in a field, or fields. Then, at approximately 1 a.m., Todd Geib's cell phone stops transmitting. It goes completely silent. No more pings, no more calls, just dead air. From this moment forward, for the next 22 days, Todd Geib exists in a state of pure question mark. The search begins with urgency. Family, friends, and local law enforcement comb the area. They walk the route. They check ditches, barns, and sheds. The theory is accident or misadventure, a fall, a medical issue, disorientation. A primary focus becomes a body of water along the possible route, Oxbow Lake. Oxbow Lake is searched extensively in those first critical days. Teams walk its weedy perimeter. They use boats. A dive team checks the deeper channels. The water is murky, but the lake is small and relatively shallow. The official word from searchers at the time, and reiterated later, was clear. If a body had been in that lake during the initial search, they would have seen it. Weeks pass. The active search scales down. The mystery deepens. With no phone pings, no sightings, no leads, Todd Geib has seemingly vanished from the face of the earth. "22 days after Todd disappeared, on the morning of July 2nd, two kayakers are enjoying the calm of Oxbow Lake, the same lake. As they paddle near the west bank, in an area of lily pads and submerged logs, they see something unnatural. It is Todd Geib. He is found upright, in approximately 2 to 4 feet of water. His head and shoulders are above the surface. His clothing is described as being relatively intact and in place. The immediate, overwhelming question: how was he not found here before? The primary search focus for days. How does a body appear upright in a shallow, searched lake 22 days later? Authorities are called, the scene is processed, the body is recovered. And with this discovery, the mystery doesn't solve itself. It fractures into a dozen smaller, more technical, and more disturbing puzzles. The medical examiner's ruling would be undetermined, with accidental drowning as a possible cause. But the physical evidence, as described in reports and by independent experts consulted by the family, created a profound conflict with the 22-day timeline. Multiple forensic pathologists reviewing the case details for media and the family have stated the condition of the body was not consistent with 3 weeks in a temperate summer lake. The description pointed to a significantly shorter submersion time, perhaps days, not weeks. This is the core of the family's doubt. In typical drowning accidents, especially with extended submersion, clothing is often displaced, pulled up by water movement, caught on debris. Reports indicated Todd's clothing was relatively undisturbed. This suggested a lack of struggle or prolonged exposure to currents. A body remaining fully upright in shallow, calm freshwater for an extended period is forensically unusual. Gaseous buoyancy typically causes a body to float, often face down. The specific vertical presentation baffled experienced investigators. Oxbow Lake is shallow where Todd was found, 2 to 4 feet. Accidental drowning of a conscious adult male in such shallow water is statistically rare. It raises questions about his state upon entry. Individually, any one of these points might be an anomaly. Collectively, they form a chorus of dissonance. The evidence seems to describe a different scenario than the official timeline allows for. And then there's the ghost in the machine. After Todd's phone went silent on June 11th, cell records allegedly indicated a brief, anomalous event days later. A fleeting registration with a tower, not a call, just a momentary electronic handshake. If the phone was submerged in the lake from June 11th, how did it ping days later? Was it a tower glitch, a data error, or was it a clue, a tiny digital signal that Todd or his phone was not where we ultimately found him for all those 22 days? This detail is hotly debated, often cited by those who believe the timeline is broken. It is the quintessential piece of this case, ambiguous, technical, and impossible to ignore. Faced with these contradictions, theories inevitably emerge. We must tread carefully, respecting the victim and the lack of definitive proof. Theory 1. The accidental narrative. He became disoriented, perhaps due to intoxication or a medical event, wandered into the lake, and drowned. The body was missed in the initial search, and unique environmental conditions slowed decomposition. The problem: it struggles to account for the collective weight of the contradictions, especially the condition of the body and the upright position. Theory 2. The delayed entry hypothesis. This is the family's leaning based on the forensic consultations. Todd was not in the lake for the full 22 days. Something happened that night, and he was placed there much later. The problem: it requires an unexplained intervening event and location. It raises more questions than it answers, but it directly addresses the decomposition issue. The case of Todd Geib remains open. His family, especially his mother, has been relentless in seeking a re-examination, in asking for modern forensic review, in simply demanding that the discrepancies be reconciled. They are not chasing internet conspiracies. They are chasing the gaps in a timeline that has never fully closed. What happened in those first crucial hours? Where was Todd Geib between the last phone ping and the day he was found? Why does the physical evidence tell a story that is days shorter than the calendar insists? These are not dramatic provocations. They are the legitimate, unresolved questions at the heart of a Michigan cold case. Sometimes a mystery isn't about a hidden truth waiting to be uncovered. Sometimes it's about a story that broke its own spine, a sequence of events that, when put together, refuses to stand up straight. The disappearance of Todd Geib is that rare and unsettling thing, a timeline that doesn't add up. And until it does, the search for answers continues.